So we'll get started, guys. Yes. So last week we seen how to create the branches, and we talked about little bit about what are the different parameters that you should think about when you're creating a branching strategy. Okay, of course this is a cumulative effort, not one person taking this decision, because you sit with the developers and the architects and everyone, and taking the inputs from everyone, and you come up with that strategy. Okay, but you need to know actually different terms. Okay, so one such is a feature branching strategy. As we said that for each feature there will be a branch created. Feature is nothing but this is not the feature what you create in the Azure course. That feature is the keyword. This feature is nothing but just a requirement. Okay, and then team branching strategy. Let us say you have a couple of teams. I just create one branch per team. So that's nothing but a team branching strategy. And then release branching strategy. That means, a few times I don't even need to create multiple branches. I might be doing some simple changes. I simply have some a master, and I create some release branch, and then go ahead and create releases basically. I mean, your build and the CI/CD pipelines. Okay, and in some cases, what happens? So there is a terminology difference between TFS and Git. So when I use branching strategies for TFS, right? TFS or any other centralized version control systems. You call it like this. Many people don't know it. Development isolation strategy, release isolation strategy, development release isolation strategy. Okay, hotfix branching like this. The terminology is different there. And Git, it's all about mostly feature branching strategy or the team branching strategy. And the hotfix branching will be there everywhere. This is nothing but you are creating various branches for various purposes. It's just giving some name, because these things are, as long as you know branching and merging, any strategy will be just a creation of another branch and then merge. Okay, so all you need to know is, I mean, whatever is the strategy you are using, it should not increase your workload. It should not be complicated. So people say that this is the best strategy. Then I only understand that this is the easiest way to solve this team problem. If you think that applying some branching strategy gives you additional headache, be it for the developers or be it for the administrator, then that is not a good branching strategy. Don't go by the funda. So somebody says this is the best branching strategy, that is a feature branching. That could be good for him because of his scenario or his context, but it may not be good for you. So the simple funda here you need to understand is, it should not be a overhead for you. It should be simple as it is. Your merges should be simple. You should be spending less time on merging, and you should be spending less time on any merge conflicts. If you are not getting those benefits from your branching strategy, then that is not a good one. Okay, don't go by the name, go by your flexibility. You should be more productive. Okay, and then hotfix we seen. Okay, this is how generally I will just explain it, this flow actually. Okay, and whatever is a strategy, as I said, it's all about branch and merge. There is nothing other than that. Okay, so when I say feature branching strategy, you see the last one, the bottom one is a trunk, and you see many points A, B, C, D, E, right? These are the points, right? I just kept it like that for the demonstration purpose. This is the point where you are merging your code with another branch, or your reverse merging. So you will have two concepts: forward integration and reverse integration. So whether it is forward or reverse, it's merge only. Okay. If it is going from child to parent, forward, parent to child, reverse. That's it. But many people don't use these terms. We just say that branching and merging. That's it. Okay. But if you're talking to any technical guys, if they know these terms, just use them: forward integration and the reverse integration. Okay. So if you see the first one, the trunk, right? From the trunk, I created a branch called feature one. Okay. And from after some time, I mean, after making some changes or something, somebody wanted another branch, some developer to start it. So then I created another branch after, let us say, 1 day or 2 days, whatever it is. So it went to feature two. And then this guy done the feature one, the developer who is working on feature one branch, he done his coding. So he merged the code and then it went to your trunk. Okay, this is the, I mean, these arrows, right, represent that one only. Okay, so you created branch from some point, then it became one up arrow to the feature one branch, and you done with coding. So that means you are flowing your code changes back to your master. So that's why you have this down arrow. So this is just a flowchart kind of stuff, but I kept it in the horizontal mode. Some people keep it in the vertical mode. This is just a flow. So your arrows represent that one. So there is no other significance other than representing your flow. Okay. So basically, you get confused if it is like this. But when you are working, you don't mind. It's all about merging with master, merging with dev, merging with feature, whatever it is. Okay. So this is how it works. Now, what we are going to do to implement this strategy, right? For some time you forget about this one. Okay. I'll create multiple branches from my master. I create one dev branch. Okay, and now I'm going to create multiple feature branches. Okay, so the current scenario is, let us say, I'm implementing one microservices project. Generally, if it is a microservices project, right, as per the architecture, only one microservice will have only one feature, I mean one requirement. There won't be any dependence. It can have its own CI/CD pipeline. That means only one developer can work on it. Okay, so that's where you get into feature branches. Okay, one developer is working on one feature. I'll go ahead and create one feature branch because it can be independently deployable. So as per the architecture defined by the architect, and you can go ahead and create your branches. If that guy says no, no, it's okay, you can create only one branch. Okay, you can simply say that this is how it works. And if that guy still says no, no, I want like this, go ahead and create, because as a DevOps engineer, you are following somebody's, I mean, guidance basically. If you're a DevOps architect, obviously you can override his statements because you have a lot of experience, and you can, debate actually why it is good or why it is not good. But when you are starting, I'm just giving some inputs actually how you can, lead your life actually. So you talk about what you know, but end of the day you talk. I mean, you do what the architect will say, because he is the technology owner for the any application development or product development. Okay, so we'll go ahead and create some branches, and we do some changes. Let us say I'll go ahead and create, we already have one master branch and dev branch. From that dev branch, I'll create feature branches. Let us say feature one, feature two. We also talked about some naming conventions. So before you start creating branches, right, you also need to decide with your team. This is how I want to name it. Is it okay or not? Okay. So basically, you can name like this. Let us say dev slash username, mean your user ID slash then your feature name. So however you can easily identify something, in that way you can name it. There is no fixed standard for this. Okay, let's go ahead and create some branches. While we are working with the branches, we will do the merging, and we will also apply this permission related stuff. Okay, and then the permissions are many things. And while we are merging, we will see the pull request. So we will go in this sequence. We will learn all these things. So let's let's come back to my. So as you know, you can create branches either from portal or from the Visual Studio. Okay, so let's go ahead and create from the Visual Studio. Let me close this solution. So wherever is the place you are doing, you have to do sync. If you don't do sync, then it will not appear either one of the places. So we are working on this web application 6, right? Let's take this. So right now I'm in master branch. At the bottom you can see here. Okay, and then let's go to Team Explorer. Let's click on home. How many branches I have, you can see here. I have only day one master branches. You see this highlighted one, right? This is in bold color. It is nothing but currently you are working on that branch. So that is when you are having multiple branches, right? This is the easiest way to identify on which branch you are working on. If it is highlighted like this in the bold, you are working on that branch. So in other words, you checked out this branch actually. So that is the technical word that you use. I checked out this branch to work on it. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm creating a feature branch. As I told you, we should never allow any other person other than administrator to work on the master branch, because this is always fully working solution. It should not have any issues. So you always create any branch from the child of your master branch. So that's where we created the dev branch earlier, right? Okay, now let me create a new branch. So you can create branches many places, right? You can go at the bottom and create a new branch, or you can straight away click here and click on the branches and you can create it. So wherever you go, you will get the options. Okay, it's all wizard based, you don't need to get confused. Okay, I'm just going to create a new branch. I'll be keep shuffling there and here so that you will see the options, but the process will be same. So what I'm going to name this branch as feature branch, right? I'm saying let us say I would say dev slash Purna slash login microservice. So it's not a microservice. I'm just naming it. Okay, you can name it whatever you want. And from where I want to create that branch, my base is not master. I want to create from the so origin slash dev means it will connect to the dev and create a branch. So if you have any changes, that will also come here. So I just want to create from my local dev. So if I have any changes here, that will still not be committed. I will go and sync it. It will go to the. So now go ahead and click on create branch. Okay. It is saying conflicts with that dev actually. Let's go and do the first sync actually. Now I don't want, because I'm creating a new branch, right? Rather than solving the merge issues itself, I will just take the latest Team Explorer. Let's do like this, and then sync. So as a best part, this is one thing, right? Whenever a developer starts or you start your day with your coding or any changes, right? Always take the latest. So because if it is one or two changes, you can easily resolve the conflicts. Let us say you done for the entire day. There will be 40, 50 changes or something. You will spend another 3, 4 hours or 5 hours to just resolve those conflicts. It's not productive actually. Always take the latest and then do the changes basically. Okay. Okay, my repository is now up to date. Okay, let's do one more thing. Done. Okay, now can go ahead and create branches. As I told, we can create from anywhere. Okay, let's go ahead and create a new branch from, and then I say users slash dev, right? Dev slash, just a naming convention you can give. I mean, if slash doesn't allow, then I'll give another one. Okay, login. service. Just create a branch. The branch conflicts with the should not give. I don't have any changes, right? The conflict. So that is misleading actually. I don't have any. I'm creating a new branch. Why it will give me a conflict? It looks like it doesn't accept that slash. So that's why it is giving problem. Okay. Now you see, I selected that checkbox, right? Checked out. That's the reason my branch is being created and my code is already pointing to my newly created branch actually. Okay. Let's open this. Say how you can see the bottom as well. Dev Purna login microservice. Okay. Now let's go to uh, my solution explorer. Okay, before this you want to see whether this is available on the portal or not. I mean on the remote repository. It should not be available because I created this branch from my local dev branch, not on the remote slash dev actually. Okay, so for few times we can do this verification, later we can skip it, so by that time you will be used to that. dev.azure.com. Now let's go ahead and Azure DevOps, and this is web application 6, and then we have the repos. So right now if I expand these branches here, right, I have master and dev only. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to sync it. So go and click on sync, and then click on see. We should have the push. Now it is pushing the branches. Okay, successfully pushed the branch, my branch name to the origin, and let's go ahead and refresh it. So now I have my new branch available here. So you can go and you can see the same code here as well, whatever is there. Okay, now so now the person is working on the his feature branch, right? He makes some changes. Okay, and then he needs to merge this code with the dev, because I will not be, let us say there are 100 microservices. I will not be creating the 100 CI/CD pipelines, because this is a simple. What I do, I mean, to avoid, see, the whole funda is to reduce your workload. If you are creating hundreds of pipelines, you are spending your time there itself. Okay, there were some best practices how to do that one. We will keep on talking about it. Now what I'm going to do, I want to merge this feature branch with my dev. From the dev I can deploy the code to the dev environment. But uh, so I done my coding, somebody has to review it, right? I can't simply allow this guy to merge this code with the dev branch, because dev branch is being used by multiple other people as well. So there should be a review mechanism. That review mechanism is what a pull request. Okay, here. So for the time being, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to make some change here. Okay, I'm just going to remove all these things. Let us say I done some coding, uh, feature branch coding completed. So we are not demonstrating the code, right? We are only demonstrating the DevOps here. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to commit this code. Is this commit? And then let's go ahead and push it. Done. So now I committed my code to the feature branch. Now I want to merge this one with the dev branch. Okay, so if you are an administrator, right, mostly you will be doing the merges from the portal, or you can do from here as well. Okay, but whatever is the place, the flow is same. Okay, now go to Team Explorer. Right now, I don't have any policies implemented. I can simply, do the pull request without any, restrictions. So let's go ahead and go here and then go to, okay, let's refresh. So I just now committed, right? So you can create a pull request right from here, or you can go to pull request here, and you can create a pull request. Wherever you go, you will see the pull request. Okay. So this is my okay. I done this change from my administrator account. I want to do that change from my normal account. Okay. So so let's not create a pull request with this guy actually. Let's let's switch it to other person, because this guy is administrator. I can't restrict him actually. Okay. So I'll make a simple change here, but before that I want to create another feature branch rather than this one, because this guy is already started working on this one. Let's create another feature branch. So he cannot create the branches, so I'm just going to create a branch, another feature branch, and then let this guy to work on it. Sign in. Oh, it's not changed, huh? Switch to directory. Sorry, sorry guys, I haven't seen that one. I thought I changed it. I tried to use the other browser, but it was still taking the session actually. So it's not taking multiple things. So basically for some applications, if I open different browsers, right, the sessions will not be shared, but this is sharing the session. So I cannot, work like two different users on the same laptop. So go to web application 6. I'm creating another feature branch. So this time I'm creating directly from here. Okay. So how we can create, uh, you can click on these branches, click on new branch, and then given dev Chandra logout. You can give something, and this is based on my dev, not on this current feature branch. Select the dev. We talk about these things, okay, later. Let's create it. Okay, now my feature branch is being created. Okay, now what I'm going to do, so basically the other user is a contributor of this project, so by default he will be having access to all these branches. Okay, because he is a contributor to the repository level. Okay, now let's go ahead and change to this guy. I will go to one file, make some change, and I will commit it. Okay, then it will allow me to do pull request. First, we will not apply any permissions. I will be able to do it, and then we'll apply some changes. Then we'll see how it works. So this is your main part actually. Oh shit. Mm. This is your main part as an administrator, to go ahead and apply policies, to avoid mergings, to avoid creation of artifacts by people, etc. I'm having similar user IDs, so that's where I'm having problem. Okay, this is a Purnachandra, or this is the one I want to have it. Let me close this, and I want to select this. Okay, let's go to Azure DevOps, right? Yeah, Azure DevOps. Okay, and my web application 6, and I want to work on my repository. I'll go and take this Chandra logout microservice. I'll make some change. This is as if you are doing it from your Visual Studio. Since these are very small changes, I'm just doing it here. So I'll say first you need to edit, click on edit, and then feature logout service. Okay, now click on commit, and then guys, you see work items to link. I am not associating any work items as of now, and you see the issues later actually. Okay, commit it. Okay, as soon as I committed, it is allowing me to create a pull request. Okay, now let's go ahead and create a pull request. So I want to merge this code to the dev branch, not to the master. Right now, if I do, I can do it actually because I did not apply any changes. I mean, any permissions. Let's change it manually to dev. I'm merging this code. Whenever you create a pull request, it is nothing but you are merging your current branch with the parent branch. Okay, you can give any name and give the reviewer. So I'm selecting this reviewer, and I'm not selecting any work items here. Okay, now let's go ahead and create. Done. Okay, did I apply some policies? Okay, I applied some policies. Let me remove them actually. Okay. Let me see. Okay, now I created pull request. I am not touching that one. Okay, I am switching back to my admin account, and I will remove all the policies what I made actually. This is very important in terms of governance. Uh, if you don't know these things, right, and the whole intention of having DevOps will be defeated. So everybody can do anything, and it will be screwed end of the day. So let's go to my web application 6, and I'll go to my project settings, which is at the bottom, and then I'm going to my, this is related to code, right? As I told you, I can do the changes at the repositories section, and probably I go to my contributor because uh, and then policies, everything is nothing, and let me go ahead, branches, and expand the branches, and then click on dev, look at the policies. Okay, you applied already something. Let's remove all these things. I don't want any of these policies. Okay, save changes. Okay, that's it. Let me look at the other branch as well, if there are any policies applied. This I just now created, nothing there will be. This is the only dev. I just removed it. Okay, now I switch back to my normal user who is working on a feature branch. Earlier you seen the errors, right? Warnings are there. You can see errors, right? Now those will not be there. So not this one. Web application 6. Now go to repo. Sorry, we already created a pull request, right? Let's directly go to pull requests. Okay. Okay. Earlier you were seeing some policies there. Now we don't see. Now let's go. So this is a summary of your pull request actually. Okay, and you made some change and you created a pull request. This is your summary. Okay, and the active. So these are the changes that have come to you as well. Okay, and if you open, it will show what's been changed. And if you are a reviewer of something, it will appear here and whatever you completed, etc. And you can abandon as well. Okay, this is summary of your pull request. Okay, right now if you see, right, the completed stuff, this is already completed by whom? This guy. This is a self-approved actually. Okay, let me go ahead and create one more pull request because we just moved from there and here, right? So you may get confused. Let me go ahead and make one more pull request so that it's easy. Home controller, edit, and then say pull request example, and then commit, say commit. Oh, now I don't have an option to create the pull request also. I removed everything. That was the pull request I was seeing earlier. Okay, it should be coming there itself. I don't know why it is not coming. I think I don't have permissions now. Okay, an active pull request already exists between these branches. View pull request 3. Click on this. Okay, that was the reason. Since I already have the existing pull request, which is not completed or in progress, I was not able to create another thing. So if you see this here, right, approve and complete, right? Now see what happens, and there are nothing related to errors here under work items or something, and the reviewer is this person Sureka. So now let's go and click on approve. I'm able to approve it. I'm the creator. Basically, I'm requesting for a review from another lead or architect, but I'm still able to approve it. And now after approve it, approved. Now we need to close the flow actually. So I can complete it. Click on complete. We talk about this merge. I mean, these merge types, right? You don't do it anything in person because it is taken care by the the gift itself actually. But we will talk about it, what exactly it is. Now what I am saying, you can uncheck this one as well, complete associated work items after merging. We will talk about it. Let's click on complete merge. So yeah, it's completing the pull request. Yeah, it's done actually. Purnachandra Rao completed the pull request. So I'm the creator. So then I should not be able to approve my own pull request, which is nothing but a own core review, and I should not be able to approve. I mean, complete the flow as well. Someone else has to do that flow, right? So because we did not apply any permissions, I'm able to do on my own. So let's go ahead and apply those permissions, and then come back and make a pull request. Okay. For that, again, I'll go back to my administrator account. So for each branch, we were talking about the branch permissions, right? For each branch, you can apply the permissions. Okay. If you are using some default branches like a contributor, etc., already something is being set there. Never go and change that one. So if you need some other permission set, then you go ahead and create a new branch. New group. Don't change the default groups because it makes confusion. Because in any organization, you will not be the alone administrator, right? There will be the other DevOps engineers as well. So you do something and they do something. End of the day, together will be screwing actually. So create your own custom groups whenever you want some custom stuff, custom permission set. So for the time being, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to apply few permission sets on this branch so that some governance will be there. So I go to web application 6, and how I can do, I can go to the project settings and I can go to the repositories. And now I'm doing the merging between feature branches and the dev branch, right? So I apply the permission settings on the dev branch. So let's expand this dev and then branches, click on the dev branch. So you have these default groups, okay? And something already been set. Let's not change anything. And my user is basically part of contributor actually, okay? Now what I'm going to do, click on policies. I'm on the dev branch. Click on the policies. Now what I'm saying, see the name itself is a protect the branch actually. So the first option you have is, require a minimum number of reviewers. Okay. So I don't have a multiple people. So I'll just keep one. One reviewer is fine. Okay. And then there are other options like, requesters can approve their own changes. Earlier, we did not even set this one. So which is nothing but allow it actually. Default it is allowed. Now if you check it, it will allow. I'm not checking out, so it will not allow. So you can select allow completion even if some reviewers vote to wait or reject. That means, you have other reviewers, even if they don't approve it also, even one person approve it, it will go on actually. You can select that stuff. Since I'm selecting only one, it doesn't matter. Okay. Okay, and then check for linked work items. You remember, uh, this is related to your traceability. I mean, in our demo classes, I was telling that the beauty of DevOps is if something goes wrong in your production, let us say your product search is having some issue or your login functionality is having issue, and you have written lakhs of lines of code, millions of lines of code. If you don't have the traceability, to understand the code related to that screen itself takes, couple of days or couple of hours. But if you have that traceability means you need to link each and everything. Okay, this is my requirement, this is my code. You have the commit IDs and everything in the background, right? You are not giving it. Whenever you commit something, associate the work item type. Okay, now I am putting the branch policies. What I am saying, whenever this branch is getting merged into dev, I want to explicitly enforce the people to associate work items, okay, and what features he worked on. Because if it is a description, there is a chance for me to give some other description, right? I can give invalid description, but if it is a system related, I can't change it. So now I enforce. In order for this pull request to be completed, I want to associate or link my work item, be it a feature or be it a product backlog item, be it a task, with this merge. Then only it will allow you to complete it. Otherwise, it will give you. So you are enforcing traceability. So now check for commit resolution. I will not. Okay, I will check this one. Then we can see actually. Okay. And there were some other things here, the build validation, require from approval. I will come to these settings when we get into the CI/CD pipeline, means Azure pipelines. Let's not touch this now. Okay. Let's go ahead and save it, save the changes. Done. Now switch back to my other user, the normal developer. I'll make some change now and create a pull request. Now you see what happens. These permissions, right, it's all trial and error kind of stuff. You need to keep practicing it. After some time, it will be in the. If you work for 2-3 times, that's enough. So I go to my web application 6. files. I'll switch back to my Dev Chandra. So I'm going to make one more change. This time I'll probably make okay, go to home controller and then edit it, and then I'm making change in another method. So in reality, it will be number of methods or hundreds of lines of code, whatever it is. Commit it, and let's commit this one. Done. So earlier I was not getting this create because there was some pending pull request. Now there were no pending pull request. I am getting this one. You can straight away create from here. Create pull request. Now I want to merge into dev branch. Okay, you can update the titles. Okay, I'll say. Oh, sorry. I clicked on some other stuff. Let's create a pull request. I'll change it. Permissions test. Dev branch. And I select the reviewer, the first person. If it doesn't come, you click on the search actually. And I'm not selecting work items here. Okay. And just create it. Okay. As soon as I created a pull request, you already seen something, right? All commits resolved, something is checked, and the other one is 0 of 1 reviewers approved, and no work items linked. These are in the red mark, right? Let's try to click on approve. Okay, even when I click on approve, still 0 of 1 reviewers, I mean, that didn't get passed actually. Okay, yeah, self approval is not now happening. Now click on complete. When I try to complete the flow, it is giving two required branch policies are not passing. Those are the two what you see actually. So you enforced your policies now. Now let's go to the reviewer. The reviewer is Surekha. Okay. Now let's go to reviewer. And now I will review his code and then whether I can approve it. That means once I approve it, the code will be merged with the dev branch, and then I can reject it and it will go back to the developer. Okay. And when I approve it, there will be some other things what you will learn actually here. So now I am with administrator as a reviewer, and then I'll go to repos and I can straight away go to pull requests. Okay. Here also, I mean, this is, I mean, as we've been working in a product stats, it is updating this dashboard as well. Okay, but this is read only. Okay. Now click on repos, pull requests. Okay. This is a summary, and there are two pull requests assigned to me. The latest one is the permission test. Okay, you can open this by clicking on it. Okay, 0 of 1 reviewer, the same status what you see in there. Okay, now what I'm going to do, so okay, sorry. Okay, so you make some code changes, right? You updated the files. The reviewer has to review the code, right? Okay, so this is a overview tab, right? If you go to the files tab, you can see the files. See on the left hand side, you can see all the files that are changed. And if you select the file, it will show the changes. What is the latest and what is the earlier version, which is already available on the server. And the person, this is the, and the person who is doing the review, he doesn't need to send any email about the comments. There and there you can give the comments. Okay. Let me take this like this. Let me give some space here. See, the changes are highlighted, right? and you see a plus symbol, you can add a comment here itself. Okay, so the flow is, I mean, you don't need to navigate in many places. I can simply say looks good, and I can add this comment, and this is your rich text box. You can give, I mean, the way you are using your word, you can use it similar thing, and just say comment, done. Now I have added a comment, I mean, I reviewed it, and you see some status here, active, pending, etc. I'm not going to apply anything now here. Let it be active now. Done. Okay, I completed my review basically. Now I can go and say either click on approve, or I can approve with suggestions, etc. For the timing, I'll say approve. Approve with suggestions is not is equivalent to, almost equivalent to approve with suggestion, because later he may go and do apply such sessions. Okay, now I approved it. Let's go to overview section. One reviewer approved. Okay, now let's try to click on complete. I'm a reviewer. I completed my review and I approved it actually, but still I'm having these two required branching policies are not passing. Okay, the other two required are no work items link, not all comments resolved. Let us say I given this comment, right? If it is related to some improvement, uh, it is still inactive. The other person has to go and resolve that, and again he has to send for review. Then I have to, uh, I have to resolve the status to resolve. I mean, put the status to resolve. Then only it will allow me. So this is the kind of enforcement you are giving. Let's go and how do you change it? You can come to files, or I mean, you can do it multiple places here. And this is the comment I made, right? The latest comment, observation. I would say observation, and change it to resolved. See, as soon as I made it, it's been changed to green. Now let's say again complete. Now the last one is no work items is linked, because I'm committing my code and then I created a pull request, and but I'm not saying for which requirement I created or I developed this code. So if I don't do this one in future, I will have the traceability issue, and you have to spend hours and hours to just do the root cause analysis to identify which code to be modified. So now I can't do it. So I don't have any work item actually. Let's go and create a work item and associate with this. Okay. So for that, let's go to boards. Uh, let's go to, first we'll go in always we will go in order actually. It's better. Microservice Epic. I'm not changing any other stuff. Okay, because we are not doing that stuff actually. Save. So from the Epic itself, I create a new item for the feature. It's a child, and this is of type feature, and then microservice feature. So I'm not giving any other stuff. Okay, I should be okay with this one. Okay. So you can apply these even for the commits, right? You can apply this policy. Whenever somebody commits, they have to associate work item, like his task or product backlog item on which he is working. Now I'm done. Now let's go to my pull requests. How do you go? Go to pull requests, and this is a pull request I've been working on, permission test. I'm reviewing this code actually. Now you need to associate work items, right? Let's go ahead and click on complete. It will give me, so I haven't done. Let's go here. Let's go and associate. This is the place. No work items, right? Let's click on place. So it's already giving me n number of features. I need to, because I'm contributor working on many things, right? I have all the associated stuff. I need to select the relevant one. I'm saying microservice feature. This is the one I created for this project. Done. Okay, now this is been associated. Now let's click on complete. See, all the things have been resolved here. Now complete. Okay. So now if you see complete associated work items after merging, you have the status for the features, right? Like done, etc. Those things will also be completed if I check this one. For the time being, let's not do this one because we will be doing some other stuff as well. Okay, at that time we will do that. And you see the other option here, delete the current branch after merging. See, imagine if you are having 100 branches, to go and delete it manually, it's a headache for the administrators or the DevOps engineers, even for the developers. Right? Developers, anyways, they never like to delete it because they are scared, right? If it goes, I mean, if it is not available, what happens? Even for administrator or DevOps, you need to go and take the permission first to delete it because otherwise you will be screwed. So if it is for the reviewer, I mean, nobody can do anything. So if you check this checkbox, right, it will merge your feature branch code with the dev branch, and then it will delete the that branch itself. Now I will select that and delete this one, and let's say complete merge. Done. You see now everything is done. All are resolved. Now go to repos and see branches. See, Dev Chandra logout microservice is not available now. Okay, only Dev Purna is available. Now let's go to Dev and see the changes. So if you before itself you can see the history actually. Okay, I mean without going into the detail, because as a DevOps engineer administrator, you don't care what is being merged. You only care whether that is being merged or not. Okay, so just for your reference, let's go to home controller.cs and go to contents rather than history and permission test comment. So my code is there. So this is how you can create branches and do the merging and apply different policies to enforce the traceability, to enforce the review mechanism. Okay, and then to enforce the other thing, comments. I mean, if I, as a reviewer, if I given some suggestion, that has to go to the resolved situation. I mean, resolved status. Otherwise, it should not. So all these different things you can apply on all the branches. And this is how your pull request works in the real time. Okay, we will have few more concepts in the repos. Okay, I mean, they make your life little bit easier. Let us say now you are doing the merging, right? And these are the simple merges. You have one or two. And sometimes what happens, you already given a release, okay, which in some release branch, and you done some bug fix, and that is in another branch. But and the developers are already working on some other feature branches, right? If they have to get that bug fix to your feature branch, what happens? You have to move your bug fix code to the release branch and then release to the master and then master to your, you have to follow that hierarchy. Otherwise that linking will change. So it's a hell lot of work actually. So there are some techniques where you can directly move code from your hotfix branch bypassing these master or any intermittent or intermediate branches, right? You can directly put into feature without affecting any of your work. So we will talk about it tomorrow and some other policies. So with that we can close working with a Git repository, and here we are using Azure repos. That's it for today, guys. Any questions?
I have one question related to the future branching. So the future branching is decided by the project manager or the project or the person who is working on the particular project.
Okay, any branching strategy, right? It is a combined effort. So as a DevOps engineer, Okay, first you will put your thought process, right? So let us say if it is microservices, right, it is always be a feature branching because every feature can be independently deployed. Okay, if it is any other scenarios, right? So we talked about the some fundamentals, right? You need to think about it's all about how to improve your time to market, means how quickly you can do it with less issues. Okay, so you need to think about the number of developers, number of features, and how many developers can share the same code files, these things, right? When you have all these details in place, you I mean as a DevOps engineer, you and then the project architect or the application architect, the lead and developers, they sit together and decide which branching strategy to be applied. But end of the day, whatever is the strategy you are applying, it has to be having less work. Okay, if you are choosing any branching strategy that involves n number of merges into different branches, and if you are spending a lot amount of time, then that is not a good branching strategy. So this is a team effort. Ensure that your branching strategies will give you less work, it will give you less merge conflicts. Okay, these are
So
the fundamentals that we need to ensure.
so you mean to say that the initially in the project kickoff only they'll be deciding this future branching and all these branching strategies, right?
Exactly, exactly. Because the application architect or the solution architect knows, right, what are the types of requirements going to be developed, and in what fashion. So he has the clarity. Okay, then he has to explain these things, and because it's a scrum, right? Everybody is a part of meetings, right? That's where I mean the testers will talk about the testing test plans or whatever it is, the developers talk about is the development stuff. As a DevOps engineer, you need to talk about these things. Okay, okay, now you need to question, okay, what branching strategy should we apply, should I go ahead with this, should I go ahead with this? So you talk about two three things, and then they will suggest, okay, yeah, so the development will be like this. If you go with this strategy, then you will have to do n number of merges. Okay, you need to deal with a lot many number of merge conflicts. So from this brainstorming, you will come up with a branching strategy. Okay, this is not one person effort.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, but funda is should be less overhead, less merge conflicts.
Okay.
Hello, this is Manoj here.
Yes, Manoj.
So actually, this is a first class for me.
Okay.
There is a little bit confusion. So
uh,
actually, is it eighth or ninth session? Which is
yes. Yes. Yeah, I understand there will be definitely confusion because this is first class. I suggest you to go through the, I mean, recorded videos. Okay. Uh, I mean, as early as possible.
okay. Actually, what is the difference between infrastructure DevOps and application DevOps?
So infrastructure DevOps is all about creating your virtual machines, creating your networks, storage, automatically using some tools. Okay, it doesn't deal with your code analysis or code branching or code deployments. So let us say if you have to have one server in your environment in your company, some you have to raise a request and somebody will procure that server and set up that server in the data center. But in the but if it is a cloud, some administrator will go and create that by logging into the Azure portal or AWS portal. This is a manual, but we do it in an automated way using tools like Ansible, Chef, Puppet, or Terraform. Or if it is Azure, it is ARM templates. If it is AWS, it is a Cloud Formation templates. So there are tools to do that infrastructure automation.
So database deployment comes under
Application
infrastructure DevOps.
application DevOps we cover as part of this session. Database deployments.
ARM templates will also comes under
Yeah.
DevOps or application DevOps.
Infra DevOps, ARM templates is the utility to create Azure resources in Azure cloud. You can create Azure machines, you can create Azure networks, you can create any Azure cloud resource using ARM templates. So, but we will be covering the basics in these sessions. So you will have the fundamentals and clearly know why it is, what to, what to learn, and you can take your path from there. We will be covering, this is part of our course, but only the fundamentals. We will not create any data center on Azure cloud using ARM templates, because we need a data center architect for the design and architecture.
So need we to learn infra DevOps also apart from this, or it is not required?
Now that depends on the path you choose. If you want to move towards infrastructure automation areas, then you go with infrastructure DevOps. But if you want to go with application side, because applications live forever, right? There will be application DevOps forever. Infrastructure DevOps only for the bigger clients and bigger engagements. Okay, but application, there will be all sizes. It will be from thousands of rupees to crores of rupees, right? I would say thousands of dollars to millions of dollars, but
Okay.
infrastructure is different. So it depends on your mode actually, what you want to do.
So here my question is, the database deployment comes under application DevOps or infra development? Infra
application
DevOps.
dev- Application DevOps, because database deployment is also database development, right? You write procedures, tables, views, scripts, etc. That also comes under application DevOps.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Hi, this is Varun. I just have one question. This branching strategy that you just explained, can it be done through a command line view, or is it purely a UI based
No,
setup
no,
that
no.
we have to build?
Okay. So it can be, see, say when I do it from the portal, right, or from the Visual Studio, internally it is running the same Git commands.
Okay.
Okay, but you need to learn. You need to remember all the syntax, right? So you have the
Right.
Git on, Git add, Git commit, and some switches -m, -a, and branch, Git status. There are 15-20 commands with some other switches. But the whole idea of DevOps is to improve the productivity. Okay, I can do the same thing from Visual Studio or from the portal. Okay, but you have to do it from the command line. So of course you will have the Git bash. You will do it from the Git bash actually. Okay,
Okay.
so this is a Git bash, or you can do it from the PowerShell. But each and every click that you are doing it from the portal or Visual Studio will be having some more than one command internally running. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, my question was basically to understand in real time when we go on project, you would essentially use the command line prompt more
No, no,
because,
no.
or the UI. How is it?
So, if you are coming from the Microsoft technologies, or if you are using Java and you guys are using Eclipse, etc.,
Mm-hmm.
then again you go ahead with this UI only. Even if you go back to, forget about this DevOps actually, Azure DevOps, etc. Even if
Mm-hmm.
you go back to 6-7 years ago, we were using Git, right? Some people used to do this Git from the command line. Some people used to use wrappers. Let us say we used to have a source control called SVN. SVN contains Visual SVN wrapper. So people used to do these commands from the Visual SVN, because doing from the UI is easier than from the. But you still see online, right? People are using uh, from the command prompt, but it depends on the preference. But it has nothing to do with the way it works actually. Everything is same, whether you do it from the portal or a UI, whether you do it from the command line, the process flow and the output, everything is same.
Thank you. Thanks.
You hardly remember 10 to 15 commands, not more than that. But you need
Yeah,
to know the switches, -m, -a, all these things you need to remember.
that it's preference of the individual. If they're comfortable with
Exactly,
commands,
exactly.
then
Exactly, exactly. let us say even here as well, right? You can create pull request, or you can commit the code from the Visual Studio. You can do the same thing from the portal. So it depends on people. But I mean, if you know everything, it depends. But I prefer to use the mechanism which improves my productivity. Not only me, anyone, right?
Right,
I don't
right.
want any confusion to do anything.
It's just that the UI sometimes with all the web page loading, it takes a little bit more time than the command line, is what my feeling is. But yeah, it's just I
Yeah,
wanted to clear up.
you are right. But anyways, we are not working on like websites like e-commerce, right? So you
Right.
hardly do this, and the delay could be hardly 10 milliseconds or 20 milliseconds or 1 second, which is negligible. But again, you are spending your time to remember that commands and typing, so that will compensate the delay what you see from the portal.
Okay, thank you.
Purna, I have one last question. Like, my name is Rakesh. Uh, to practice these DevOps, I was asking you the I mean, our Visualsoft, how I should take it forward. Like, I need to subscribe, or initially they are giving 1 month of free, and later they are charging, right? So,
You are
generally,
talking
how
about
we
the videos? You are talking about the videos, or you are talking about the infrastructure side?
infra to
Okay,
practice
you
the
can
infra.
base Azure DevOps is free for 90 days.
Okay.
So you go to dev.azure.com, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And when
Yeah.
you create a Azure subscription in portal.azure.com, that portal.azure.com subscription is for 30 days, and you will get 13,000 credits, 13,000 rupees free credit. And in that you have this Azure DevOps feature. This is for 90 days. You can use that with the
Okay.
same ID. Okay.
So later onwards, it was charged on the subscription basis, right?
Yeah. If you select pay as you go, it's just like recharging your mobile. You can
Yeah,
go
yeah,
as pay as you go. Yeah.
yeah.
But of
Thank you.
course, 90 days is a lot time for you to explore each and everything.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, it's 15 minutes past 9. That's it for today, and we will talk about some more features and some more stuff on the branches. I mean Azure repos, and we'll move on to the pipelines. Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.